The small town of Brooksville had always been the kind of place where everyone knew each other's names, and the most exciting news was the annual fair. Its tree-lined streets and quiet evenings made it feel like nothing bad could ever happen there. That sense of safety was broken on a cold November morning when Mark Henson, the owner of a popular corner shop, was found dead behind his counter. A delivery driver had arrived early to drop off supplies and noticed the front door slightly open, an unusual sight for a man known for his punctuality and careful habits. Inside, the shop was eerily silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. The counter displayed neatly arranged goods, and the cash register still held the weekend's earnings. There were no overturned shelves or signs of a struggle, except for a single picture frame lying shattered on the floor near the counter. The photograph inside was face down, its glass cracked into jagged pieces. The police arrived quickly, cordoning off the area and beginning their examination. Neighbors gathered outside, whispering in disbelief. Mark was well-liked, known for his generosity and honesty, and the idea of someone harming him seemed impossible. Officers noted that the back door was locked from the inside, ruling out a quick escape route. The scene presented a puzzle. There was a victim, but no clear motive, no missing valuables, and no obvious suspect. It was as if someone had come in with a purpose that had nothing to do with money. The broken picture frame, dismissed at first glance, seemed almost out of place in the tidy shop. No one yet realized that this small, overlooked object would become the first thread in unraveling a story far darker than anyone in Brooksville could have imagined. Investigators moved methodically through the shop, determined to find any detail that could explain the crime. Their attention was drawn to the floor near the rear of the store, where a faint, muddy footprint stood out against the clean tiles. At first, it seemed unremarkable, but the lab later revealed something unusual. The soil contained a rare type of clay that was not common in the town's streets. Its distinctive reddish hue and gritty texture matched only one location in Brooksville, the old railway yard on the edge of town, a place long abandoned and overgrown with weeds. This single clue hinted that the person responsible had either come from there or had been there shortly before the murder. Detectives reviewed surveillance footage from nearby shops and traffic cameras. Most showed nothing out of the ordinary, but one grainy clip from a store across the street caught a fleeting figure approaching Mark's shop late at night. The person wore a hooded sweatshirt and gloves, making identification impossible. They entered the store, but no footage showed them leaving, suggesting they may have exited through another route or stayed inside for longer than expected. The footprint, combined with the railway yard clue, began to change the tone of the investigation. This no longer looked like a random crime. It hinted at a connection between the victim and the suspect, something personal and deliberate. Still, without a face or a name, the lead was fragile. The detectives expanded their search to the railway yard, looking for any sign of recent activity. There, among rusted train cars and cracked concrete, they found fresh tracks in the clay, proving that someone had been there in the days before the murder. The investigation was no longer just about who had killed Mark, but why. Digging deeper into Mark Henson's past, investigators discovered details that began to shift the direction of the case. Years earlier, Mark had been involved in a bitter land dispute with a man named Alan Price. The disagreement had centered around a valuable piece of property near the edge of town, not far from the old railway yard. Alan claimed Mark had cheated him during the sale, and when the court sided with Mark, Alan lost both the land and his business. The fallout left him financially ruined and socially isolated. It didn't go unnoticed that Alan had moved into a small, run-down house less than a mile from the railway yard, the same area linked to the rare clay found at the crime scene. On paper, Alan had no reason to revisit the past, but the grudge he carried was well known among the locals. When questioned, Alan appeared calm and cooperative, offering an alibi that placed him at home the night of the murder. Neighbors even confirmed seeing his car parked in the driveway. Still, investigators couldn't ignore the link between him, the railway yard, and the victim. A search of Alan's property turned up nothing conclusive, no footprints, no signs of clay, no obvious weapon. The case seemed to stall until detectives revisited evidence from the shop. In the evidence locker, the broken picture frame from the crime scene sat largely forgotten. A closer inspection revealed a strange detail: the frame's glass held partial fingerprints that did not belong to Mark or Alan. This discovery cracked the investigation open again, hinting that a third person was involved, someone neither the police nor the community had considered. The mystery now deepened, and the possibility of hidden connections between the three men began to take shape. The broken picture frame, once considered a meaningless detail, became the focus of forensic analysis. Technicians carefully lifted the partial fingerprints found beneath the cracked glass and ran them through the national database. The match came back quickly: Daniel Cross, a drifter with a long record of petty theft and trespassing. Daniel had no permanent address, often moving from one abandoned building to another, and had been seen in Brooksville only a few times in recent months. His history showed no direct link to Mark Henson, which made his fingerprints in the shop all the more puzzling. Investigators began tracking Daniel's movements and eventually found him living in a makeshift shelter under an old bridge just outside town. A quiet search of the area turned up a pair of worn boots hidden in a duffel bag. The soles were caked with the same rare clay from the footprint at the crime scene, confirming he had been near the railway yard. Alongside the boots, detectives found something even stranger: an old, weathered envelope filled with faded photographs. The images showed Mark, Alan, and Daniel together, years earlier, standing in front of what appeared to be shipping crates at the railway yard. The three men looked younger, but their body language hinted at a shared purpose. These photographs were the first concrete proof that Daniel and Alan both had a past connection to Mark, one that had never been mentioned during interviews. Investigators now had to consider that the murder was not a random act at all but the result of a shared history that someone had tried to keep hidden. The forgotten frame had done more than provide a fingerprint; it had pulled back the curtain on a secret that was about to change the entire direction of the case. The photographs recovered from Daniel's bag revealed a side of the victim's life that no one in Brooksville had imagined. Years ago, Mark Henson, Alan Price, and Daniel Cross had been part of an illegal smuggling ring that operated quietly through the old railway yard. They used abandoned train cars to hide contraband, moving goods in and out under the cover of night. For a time, the operation was lucrative, but when a shipment went missing, suspicion tore the group apart. Mark walked away, using his share of the money to start his shop, while Alan's business collapsed, and Daniel drifted into a life of instability. For years, the past remained buried, but recent events brought it back to the surface. Investigators uncovered that Mark had been preparing to contact authorities about the old smuggling activities. He feared Alan and Daniel might be trying to revive the operation, and his testimony could implicate them both. Alan, aware of Mark's intentions, had sought out Daniel, convincing him to intimidate Mark into staying silent. The plan was never meant to end in murder, but when Daniel confronted Mark in the shop, a heated argument escalated, and a single, fatal blow was struck. Forensics tied Daniel to the murder weapon, while threatening notes found hidden in Mark's desk matched Alan's handwriting. The revelation stunned the town. Not only had the killing been rooted in betrayal and greed, but the respected shopkeeper's image as an upstanding citizen had been shattered. In the end, both Alan and Daniel were arrested, their shared past laid bare for all to see. The case served as a grim reminder that even in the most peaceful towns, dark histories can lie just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to resurface.